Thank you. Thanks. Hello. Hi. Mo is giving me my tea. Sorry, guys. Um, Today I'm late. I'm sorry. Let me pin the comment, the book. Okay. So yesterday I joined a live discussion that Exclusive Books is and Jacana Media are doing. Um, and they discussed this book. I haven't read it. I bought it. I pre-ordered it, and then it came right after the lockdown opened, bookstores to sell books. And yesterday's live discussion was with Karabo Khuleng. And yeah, sorry, I just want to show you the gorgeous cover. It's beautiful. And the foreword is by Mona El Tahawi. Hey guys, you must read. Hey, this book is like, yeah, I need to read it, but I'm gonna read it for you guys, and then you will decide if you're gonna buy the book. But you must buy the book. Sorry guys, my battery is flat, so let me take out my charger in case. Okay, so that's what I'm reading today for you. I'm gonna read the note to the reader first, and then we will continue. Happy Friday. How are you guys doing? How's everybody? Hello, hello. Happy Friday. There is the cover. And then it has a I like a book that has the stuff written on the flap. Yeah. That's how it looks. And there's pictures as well, because it is a memoir. But like tasteful pictures. And they're not like, you know, those books that have like pictures all in one space. No, they, with each chapter, with each beginning part, they have pictures. So you must get the book. I pre-ordered it. It was $179 at the time. I'm not sure how much it is now, but yes, I love that there is Mona El Tahawi's forward in there. So I'm gonna read the back of the, not the back, but the flap, and then I'll start with the note to the reader. Okay. Khamr, the makings of a Waterslams, interrogates the messy intersections between Islam, coloredness, queerness, and the precarity of middle classness. Arabic for intoxicants or alcohol. Khamr. Yeah, I think that's how I'm saying it. Yeah, it should be Khamr. Yeah. Khamr, but it's written Khamr. Centers the author's upbringing as a Muslim living in an alcoholic home, living a life characterized by nearly everything Islam deems forbidden. Jamil F. Khan tells of the shame attached to Cape Town's deviant, diluted Muslims, pejoratively referred to as Waterslams. Khamr is both a cautionary tale and a critique of the racialized economic systems that set marginalized people up to fail. And here is the note to the reader. When asked where I'm from, I hesitate to say Cape Town. It is both geographically and politically incorrect for me to say that. Where I grew up, I could not see the outline of Table Mountain clearly or smell the icy waft of the Atlantic Ocean. None of what people see when they imagine Cape Town was within my reach. I grew up where the dry heat of summer ricocheted off finely powdered sand, hospitable to only the most resilient foliage. Where we were, nobody cared to write reviews for publication in a brochure. I, too, am but a visitor to Cape Town, and it tolerates me for only as long as is necessary. In reality, it's not at all the welcoming natural wonder we claim it to be. The ocean is glacial, the streets are claustrophobic, and the air is filled with the anger of ancestors long since removed from their rightful homes. Cape Town is a city of open secrets, dirty secrets. That may be one attribute I can identify with. I cannot lie and say that writing this book has been a joyful experience. It has been daunting, to say the least. Most notably, it has been an eerie experience in which art imitated life. The writing process found itself plagued and impeded by many of the same oppressive and restrictive conditions it sought to describe. The task of excavating history seems linear enough. Accessing memories in a form of internal time travel should be simple. It can be, but when that process is accompanied by the living recreation of its own subject matter, something incredible happens. Every word that followed revealed itself at the appropriate time in an attempt to save me from the present. Under the ever-present threat of freezing up and shutting down, I was stolen away by the story that would not rest any longer. There is something to be said for the conditions under which writing occurs and how responsive the words are to their surroundings. Though it was an agonizing process for me, I'm happy that I wrote this book in surroundings that were reminiscent of my upbringing. The past is a continuum. It morphs and molts, but it remains immortal. The past lives in us and dies when we die if we don't pass it on. The past I was reliving while writing this book is a familial inheritance. Writing sent me back and forth between a beginning and an end, sometimes indistinguishable in my memory. The cycle of trauma narrated here has been hard to quell. It is also through words that we, as a family, have willed this inheritance of abuse to end, but words alone mock our efforts. This story is my ultimate attempt at an end. Maybe if the words are employed to travel beyond the no man's land of the promises we make to each other, they will take up the offer to work. When we utter them under our dishonest breaths, they are too easily retracted and forgotten when they need something to bind them with. We need something to bind us with. Maybe the heat of the ink as it is seared onto the paper might demand some kind of commitment from us. Maybe the bright light of outsider eyes will betray our commitment to secrecy just one last time and enough to stop the boomerang. For me, this is an end, and this story will never have to be told anew again. For those still weighed down by the injustice of generational shame, this is meant to be a beginning. We deserve every chance to be remembered. Sure. So that is the note to the reader, and I'm gonna read from part 1 because we're all sampling. I haven't read the book. Let X_space hello says, oh, thank you for satisfying my FOMO. I've been seeing this book all over my socials. Definitely adding it to my TBR. Yay! Yes, guys. So thank you. For those who weren't here yesterday, I did read something else, and I said that this is the reason why I love this cover, guys. It's so gorgeous. And Jamil umuntle. He's so gorgeous. Yeah. So the reason why I said I would the reason why I started these readings is because there's so many books that I have on my bookcase as well that I haven't read. So it would be nice for me to read them for you, and then I archive them in the hope that one day when you don't know what to read, you can actually go back onto them, because I do save them on IGTV and on YouTube. So that is the whole point of doing these readings, so that you can actually be encouraged to read a book or buy one. So yes, part 1. My loneliest moment arrived more unexpectedly than my 4-year-old imagination could conceive. I was pacing the perimeter of the hole in our backyard where the new swimming pool would go. It was one of those days where the sky was such a crystal hue of blue, staring at it long enough might have lifted you off the ground and caused you to float in the space between heaven and earth, as the good books teach. The earth was dry and, worse, the soil where we lived had a strange relationship with water, which rolled off it like oil. So not even the prospect of watering could make a difference. Walking through it barefoot, I always kicked up a fine black dust, which settled between my toes and seemed to cling to my skin. Barefoot, I walked around with feet resembling black and brown marbled rock formations on most days. Perhaps it was a metaphor for many stubborn relationships I would witness around me, because though we all needed each other, nourishing each other proved difficult. Oh! Danger to a 4-year-old is like Greek mythology, always something that other people worry about. Until then, the earth had always stayed steady under my feet, even if it were only to teach me respect for gravity. Counting my steps around the edge of the hole provided solace for the chaos happening inside the house. I was a very contained child, though not stunted. My imagination was always a refuge, an unseen world where I could live freely. A world where I wasn't hiding from the policing of adults, the cruelty of prejudiced children, or a fear of the ever-present danger of difference which follows people like me to their graves. I didn't feel the fall, but my view had changed suddenly. A mountain of deep brown earth eclipsed my view of the house, and the vibracate walls that... I'm sorry, someone is calling. Please hold on before they try and call again. Sorry, guys. Miss Weiner says, wow, it is a gorgeous cover. I've never seen the back of it. Yeah. Oh. Where was I? Okay. I didn't feel the fall, but my view had changed suddenly. Oh, vibracrete. Okay, so a mountain of deep brown earth eclipsed my view of the house, and the vibracrete walls that enclosed the backyard grew much taller than they were a few seconds before. It was the closest I've ever come to having the earth swallow me. If the nagging fear of violence that marginalized people often experience manifested in physical form, that fall might have been it. It is something we're always guarding against, trying to circle it as skillfully as we know how, but every now and then the earth shifts, and our worlds turn upside down. Nothing looks familiar anymore, and for many, recovery just isn't possible. Maybe this too was a representation of the lives we live, one way in and rarely any way out. I had fallen into the hole. I doubt that I knew what was happening to me, but I quickly realized I had to get out. I was not concerned for my safety as much as I was petrified of being shouted at for getting sand on myself. Cleanliness was at all times important. After all, we were always a representation of our homes and communities. One speck of dust or unruly curl that managed to escape the grip of a hair clip could bring the entire community's value system into question. Looking around the canyon of dirt, I took a few moments before I buckled under the weight of the realization that it may be the end of my life as I knew it. Facing the possibility, I had to try and get myself out as quietly and neatly as possible. I grasped at the fine roots sticking out of the earth as if they were ropes. To my eyes, they seemed strong enough to help me jungle gym my way out. With each failed attempt to lift myself out of the sunken ground, I grew more desperate. How was I going to get out of this and clean myself up without anyone noticing? Nobody knew I was there. What felt like hours had passed, and I finally started giving up. Panic set in, and I let out a quiet, self-deprecating cry. My cries grew louder until I was completely unhinged. The feeling of resignation to circumstance can be freeing, but to a petrified child, it only means death. Having to experience such panic without a single caregiver in sight or the prospect of help arriving is the most harrowing form of abandonment I know. Fear with protection is unsettling, but without, it is annihilation. I suspect my cries alerted my parents and the neighbors, who were having a little party in the house, to my distress. My mother recalls how my father swiftly jumped in and took me out, with the assistance of our neighbors. The moment at which I discovered and lifted out at which I was discovered and lifted out of the hole escapes my memory. The panic and sheer terror of the moment made it very difficult for me to experience what was happening in any meaningful way. We are known to block out trauma that weighs heavier than we're able to hold. I do remember that the experience was that terrifying to me. I believed I was going to die, an idea too immense for adults to confront. What still for a child? One neighbor, Auntie Miri, took me and put me in the bathtub. I could not understand why I had to be rinsed with cold water. That was possibly more traumatic than falling into the hole. A blur of faces zoomed past me as I, the object of everyone's concern, was retroactively coddled by the guilt of jubilant adults shocked into partial sobriety at the prospect of my near death. The rest of the day went quiet. My first memorable encounter with danger was to prepare me for a life of peril. The perpetual pattern of being closed in on started here. Despite the efforts at protecting me from the cruelty of the world, the home my parents created was often my first encounter with danger. Oh. Hey. Shoo. I need to read that again. Despite the efforts at protecting me from the cruelty of the world, the home my parents created was often my first encounter with danger. Our house in the early years of my life was the lekker huis, or fun house in the neighborhood. Colored neighborhoods in Cape Town, no matter the spatial arrangements, all had an incestuous sense of community. Everyone was so deeply enmeshed with the lives of their neighbors, enmeshed, and where some formed friendships, others formed news forums. Hey, boom, gobozi. Whatever the setup, there was always an attempt at integration that enabled intimate involvement with the lives of others, or at the very least, a steady flow of second-hand information. The intention behind this form of social organization was in and itself not malicious, even if it sometimes resulted in harm. Bookworms says the cover looks amazing. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Okay. The intention behind this form of social organization was in and of itself not malicious. Oh, guys, I'm gonna take out my... Hello, greetings from New York. Hello, how are you? I'm sure it's nice and sunny. We are having winter. How are you? Thank you for joining. I'm reading Jamil Khan's Khamr, The Makings of a Waterslams. Okay, so he's introducing how they would be very close with the neighbors, and everybody was always just about each other's business. And yeah, so whatever the setup, there was always an attempt at integration that enabled intimate involvement with the lives of others, or at the very least, a steady flow of second-hand information. The intention behind this form of social organization was in and of itself not malicious, even if it sometimes resulted in harm. We often found ourselves clinging to each other in our respective neighborhoods based on our shared sense of grief stemming from displacement. I feel like I turned the camera around when I put the charger in. Everyone in the road was from somewhere else, somewhere more beautiful. My father would often talk about his upbringing in Paarl and Oakdale, where there were lush rolling hills and vineyards aplenty. So Paarl is like an hour or so before you reach Cape Town. My grandfather owned property and a convenience store in Paarl, later a house in Oakdale. And my father would often recall playing in the peach and pomegranate orchards in the backyard. He conjured images of vastness and summer emotions drifting through the air. Our parents knew what it was like to taste the fruits of their land once. The life he described, although also turbulent because of his parents, was pleasant and carefree through the eyes of the child he once was. When those areas were later declared white, my father's version of events, my grandfather came home to find a pile of rubble where their home once was. Devastated and bewildered, my grandfather asked the white bystanders, so the bystanders in hard hats, watching his despair with callous amusement, what had happened to his house. The response was something to be expected of a psychopath. Huis, meneer? Hier was nooit a huis nie. House, sir? This was never a house. That was the response. Although this tragedy did not drop his family into abject poverty, as it did many others, the sense of displacement certainly characterized my father's sense of self. It could be seen in the way he and my mother considered our home, the first one they could call their own, as a badge of honor. Nostalgia for a different home always appeared in conversations. Sorry. Recollections of happier, more secure times peppered general conversation like it was a key ingredient in anchoring us to the present we begrudgingly found ourselves in, a community of vastly different people tied together by a shared history of displacement and violence and a contrived sense of relation born out of shared cultural practices and the loss thereof. That was a life in Bernardino Heights, a suburb in Kraaifontein, far-flung from the pristine postcard aesthetic of Cape Town. The northern suburbs, affectionately termed behind the Boerewors curtain, as an obvious reference to Afrikaner cultural hegemony, was a strange place. What was it called? Behind the Boerewors curtain. Its strangeness was also the constitutive other of the southern suburbs, which was closer to the city centre where the melting pot of cultures metaphorically resided. As Muslim people, our religious and cultural preservation depended on exchanges with other Muslim people who were found mostly in the southern suburbs and on the Cape Flats. Moving away also took us away from the community influences meant to keep us in line. Wedged between the white suburban prowess of Durbanville and the neatly zoned farming wealth of Stellenbosch, we were somewhat comfortable. Our house at 4 Broadway Crescent was the first on the left or the last on the right, depending on which side you entered the crescent. My father financed the house in 1988 with a bit of help from a senior colleague who gave him the deposit to approach the bank at the time. It was what my mother described as her dream home. Being able finally to say it was her very own meant more to her than any architectural or other selling points ever would. Hi Dudu, hi Sentatu, hello everybody. She would always say, I thought I finally found my white picket fence life. I was going to be like the women on Dynasty. That was my dream house. It was spacious by the standards of the times, with a garden that stretched around the house. The pathway leading to the door was paved with beige bricks and lined with rose bushes, interrupted only by a white postbox, a painted wooden barrel nailed horizontally to a tree stump. The entrance was adjacent to a generous carpeted lounge that wrapped around to the open-plan dining area and kitchen counter. You know what? I just thought, because this is Jamil's from Jamil's life from his younger years up until early adult. I'm gonna go and read the part that Karabo was reading yesterday on the launch. I actually want you guys to hear that part, and it was from page 51. So Jamil's father was drinking, had a drinking problem. Okay, I think it was on page 61. Okay. One morning I woke up to screaming again. It was my father's voice, but he wasn't scolding someone this time. He was hysterical. He was also dead sober. Okay, yeah. I had an almost inherent skill for detecting my father's sobriety, or lack thereof. Even after 2 drinks, I could tell he was no longer completely sober. Something terrible had happened. I got out of bed with trepidation. I wanted to know what was going on, but I also wanted to stay in bed and spare myself from the trauma of yet another tragedy. My father was pacing up and down the living room. I noticed that Taishira, Jamil's sister, was not in her room, and for a second I assumed she might have been in the living room where all the commotion was. She was, after all, the center of commotion at the time, but I didn't see her in the living room. I only saw the look of distress on my parents' faces. My sister was gone. She had disappeared from her bed without a trace. Abductions were always a real thing growing up, although we managed to observe the idea from an uncomfortably mythical distance. As parents do, mine were worried about her safety, because no matter how our father terrorized us in the home, we were still his beloved children. This is often the white elephant in the room when it comes to love. We reserve the terror of our humanity for the ones we love the most, defending them against all manner of external terror. Poets and philosophers have characterized love as a euphoric puff of perfection, swaddling those of us lucky enough to be chosen, but love often is terror. Perfect love is for babies who have not yet been taught how to be human. Adults labor to achieve euphoria. The terror of humanity empties love of all its romantic connotations, and over time we find ourselves more attached to the familiarity of the terror than the euphoria of love. Yo. Yeah, I think during the discussion yesterday, I even tweeted about it that I can't even, the way this discussion is going, it was so natural. But even though they were actually talking about checking your white privilege, but this part, I kept thinking about it afterwards, how how love was described here, and I just thought I have to read it. So yes, that was a part from Jamil's book. Sorry. Sure, I need to read this book, but that's the other thing about memoirs, because it's someone's life. It's like, sure, that this was painful, So yeah, that was a sample reading of Khamr, The Makings of a Waterslams. This is published by Jacana Media, and it is available on Loot. I got it from Loot. It is on eBook as well, and all good bookstores. So I'm gonna get your copy. Adzindatu says, such wisdom about love. Yeah, ain't that the truth? That's Jane. Hi Jane. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I hope it encouraged you to pick up this book. It's brilliant. Jamil, this book Khamr is also featured on Exclusive Books Homebrew. You can just go to exclusivebooks.co.za and just check out the other books that are featured. So sure, today was a very weird day, guys, but yeah, my reading wasn't, his writing about his father is so honest but lacks any accusation. It's refreshing. Yes, it was so and you can actually picture everything, like the descriptions of everything. You can, I could picture him falling into that hole, vivid memories. So yeah, I will be reading this book within the next 2 months. Yeah, but I was taking a break from reading memoirs because they're very sure. I read I'll read this, but the one memoir that left me also thinking was Landa Mabenge's Becoming Him. It was published by Melinda Ferguson Books. Yeah. Anyway, yesterday I was gonna tell you about the books that I got yesterday. I got books from friends, I got books, and I got books from the secondhand bookstore. So I got this. This is The Story of a Child Soldier, A Long Way Gone by Ismail Bia. I missed Ismail Bia's live session for Afrolit Sans Frontiers virtual festival. Season 4 is coming up soon. Wait, season 4 is supposedly, it should be starting today. So I got this. This was at the secondhand bookstore. I'll show you and this one as well. This was actually affordable, very cheap. And I also got Perfect Imperfections. Finally, it's gorgeous cover. I got this from a friend of mine, Annelile. She's also an author. Bought me this for my birthday, which was in March. But I got this, and I'm looking forward to reading this for you guys so that you can sample. So next week I'll read this. Yes. And then I got Ismail Bia's book. I got it at the secondhand bookstore. It was such a lucky find. I never go onto the biographies or memoirs section of the secondhand bookstores, but I guess, yeah. But I got that, and it's nice and old, and I love it. But I will get the new one because he does have a new book out. So his discussion on the Afrolit Sans Frontiers virtual book festival was on his new book. And then what else did I get? Yeah, that's it. But yeah, yesterday I got like 4 books. So yes, these 2 were from friends. I also got The Secret Lives of Babaseki's Wives. So this one I got from Annelile, and this one I got from Nikki from at Reading Dates and Little Lions Book Club. So Bookish Friends got me these, and then I got a lot of books this week, so I don't actually think I deserve any more books. Not, but yes, that's what I got. And at the secondhand bookstore I also got a few books for people, but yeah, like this one is also, oh, and I got Nervous Conditions and Arundhati Roy's The God of Small Things, and they both looking so brand new. Little Family, yeah. Thank you, Miss Weiner. That is Little Family. Yeah, Little Family. Zindadu says, you get so many books. And this is still new. See, look how perfect it looks. And today I went past CNA. They have a 50% off sale. And they did have this on sale as well for $170. And this is still $199 actually. Yeah, this is a Blackbird Books title, so you must get it on blackbirdbooks.africa. Yes, guys, it's been a very pretty good week of book reading for you guys, but not reading for me. I'm still reading. I'm about to finish actually. I'm still reading these short stories by Sifiso Mzobe. Searching for Simpiwe. I'm almost finished. I'm at the like when you're like, oh my gosh. So there's I feel like I'm in Umlazi. I'm in Durban, and I'm like chasing these tsotsies, stealing people, and I'm searching for all these missing people. It's a brilliantly written book. Save for 1 or 2 stories that I'm like, but I'm loving it. There's about, how many stories? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah, no, 11. Yeah, there's 11 stories, and I'm almost done. Perfect Imperfections, yay! So I'm so happy about that. I've been wanting that book. So My friends are very, very, oh, I'm lucky. I also treated myself today thanks to Simule's recommendations. Ah, Miss Mina, nice. So you see, we've been spoiling ourselves with lots of books. It's always great to like spoil yourself, right? But yes, guys, that was today's reading. I'll see you guys on Monday. I hope that you will have a lovely weekend. I hope you manage to read, even if it's 10 pages, but just read and relax and give yourself some time to, yeah, breathe. Zindatu says those short stories once played tricks on us when they finished suddenly during our live readings. Yes, but they are so good because they overlap each other. So I'm actually, now I'm like, I'm gonna reread it. Actually, I'm really enjoying it. There's Lady Justice, and there are so many. I think On Knife's Edge is a continuation. Oh, okay. Lady Justice and Pilasande and the Missing Girls and On a Knife's Edge have the same characters, which is what I like about it. Like, I've never experienced that in a book, except for Keleto Mobai's If You Keep Digging also had one story that fed off into the next, or something like that. I don't know what is it called. I don't know how to describe it, but it's amazing. I don't know if any of you guys have read If You Keep Digging. This one. See, amazing covers, guys. Amazing covers, huh? So Blackbird Books is doing the most with these covers. So now I feel like I want to replace all the other ones that I have. You see, so this is my Blackbird Books stash over here, and I wish all the other covers would go this way. Beautiful covers. But yes, guys, that was it. I will see you guys on Monday. For those who have missed the reading, please go on to YouTube. I have someone who actually sent me a message to say they're watching the videos on YouTube, and it was so much better because they always miss the lives and they don't have the data to watch on IGTV. So there is a YouTube channel, Bookamoso Book Club, where I've loaded everything. So if you miss any of the readings during the week, you can go back and binge watch. Yeah, she said I'm binge watching, and I was like, ooh, aren't you bored of looking at my face? But I was so glad last night because yes, yeah, my nephew has been enjoying Mo's stories on YouTube. Thank you, Zintatu. Mo is actually growing a big head, guys. He was saying to me the other day, because I told him that on Ask a Parent, because I'm part of a parenting network called Ask a Parent. They are on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. I told him that his video on the website on askaparent.co.za, his video was video of the week last week. So he's like, I think I know why people like my videos more than yours, mommy. And I was like, so yeah, we are on school holiday, so he will be doing his reading on Monday. His reading will be back again on Monday. So yeah, he tells them to me with so much enthusiasm. Guys, you guys are making him grow a big head. His head is big, but it's getting bigger. So yeah, it was so cool to actually see his video on Nalibali as well. Nalibali is a reading for pleasure for a platform for kids and families. So they also have his video up, and the City of Joburg Libraries page on Facebook. So he was really like chuffed with himself. But yeah, nah, I rate the videos on YouTube and on Ask a Parent, but it's okay. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you guys on Monday. Let's read, guys. Let's read, please. Awesome. Bye, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Well done. Ah, thank you, Miss Weiner. WhatsApp.